The sudden resignation of India's central bank chief Urjit Patel is bad news for investors. The Reserve Bank of India has been at odds with the government over interest rates, bad loans, and the use of the bank's profits. On Monday, Patel stepped down, citing personal reasons.
His resignation at this time would be wrong for the government, would be wrong for the economy, wrong for the Reserve Bank.
This prompted foreign investors to dump stocks worth $114 million on Monday, pulling the country's benchmark stock index down by 2%. And the Indian rupee shed more than 1% against the US dollar before paring some of those losses on Tuesday. The government's appointed former bureaucrat Shaktikant Das as Patel's successor, but the opposition's taken advantage of all this and criticized the government for allegedly meddling in other state institutions.
We have to stop the BJP's assault on our institutions, stop the assault on the CBI, on the RBI, on the Election Commission.
The government's also under pressure at the ballot box. It's lost support in at least two strongholds, Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Investors say the recent state polls are an indication the BJP may face resistance in next year's general elections.
This is negative for the market. It shows that the BJP's strength is diminishing, and this will further affect the general election next year.
That could make it harder for Modi's government to push its policies across state legislatures and cloud the economic outlook with more political uncertainty. Mobin Nasir, TRT World.
And Mobin joins me here in the studio. Hi Mobin, explain to us, what does this election drubbing in these three key states mean for Modinomics, Narendra Modi's economic agenda?
So look, it's not like his economic policies have not had any benefits, but perhaps they haven't manifest, the benefits haven't come through or they haven't been immediately obvious. Case in point, the country's growth. It is the world's fastest growing major economy, and yet unemployment hasn't budged. Demonetization. Assume the most noble of intentions, that it was supposed to go after black money, but what it did accomplish in the end was a lot of heartache for growers, farmers, traders, without really collecting a whole lot of what it set out to do. Similarly, universal insurance has been offered to farmers and many others. Loan waivers have been offered to farmers, and then yet you have 17 states where farmers make less than a minimum wage. So really, perhaps the benefits, if at all there, haven't really gotten to the people fast enough, and that really is what seems to be backfiring at the polls for the government.
And let's look at the issue of Indian farmers, because tens of thousands of them have been protesting this year, demanding debt relief, demanding higher prices for their crops from the government. Were they crucial in this election, turning the election around for the Congress?
Certainly, that's the vibe we get looking into local media reports. In Rajasthan, just a week before that election, there was a massive rally held by farmers. And of course, many of these issues are long-standing issues. They're not created by this government per se, but they have worsened over the years. The currency's depreciated, oil prices have gone up, other input costs like fertilizer, pesticides are also going up, and so is the cost of borrowing. And on the other hand, these groups are perhaps much more organized now than they were before. This rally that I'm referring to was called by what has been called the first and biggest collective of farmers across the country. And then, of course, social media and those kind of platforms have also helped them amplify their voice.
And just quickly, Mobin, India's getting its third central bank governor in 3 years. What can we expect from it?
Look, at the heart of the problem between the previous governor and the finance ministry is those excess reserves held by the central bank. The central bank, of course, has the view that that money is for it to use in times of any sort of economic crisis on the external or internal front. The finance ministry, of course, wants a big chunk of that money, $14 billion. And if the new governor, who has come from the government side, he's worked very closely with the central bank, but always sitting on the other side of the table. So perhaps this should make it easier for the government in an election year to free up some of that cash and spend in the hopes of making a better impact at the ballot box.
And we know markets always like an independent central bank governor. Given his ties to Modi and the BJP, Do you think markets are happy by this decision?
I think the reaction we've seen is quite stark in how foreign investors are selling, but the domestic investors were net buyers yesterday and today. So certainly some difference of opinion there when it comes to investors.
Interesting. Okay, Mobin Nasir, always good to get your thoughts. Thank you.